everybody, this is Mary and Cowie Owen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today I was made to watch Anaconda. Sorry, I was going to hold off on laughing, but can't.
Yeah, you were Anaconda, which is, of course, the 1997 Jennifer Lopez, John Voight, Ice Cube led action adventure movie. This is a movie that I don't love this movie, you know, as we say in the intro, like I love a lot of the other movies that are on here. This is a movie that came out when I just started working in a video store. So I kind of was watching every new movie that came out. And I watched it, and so did other people at the video store, and we all just thought it was campy fun. And so it became kind of like a joke around the store, and we would put it on anytime we could in the store.
Did you have laughing fits too?
No, not
okay, that's
not
just
quite.
Me. Okay.
I mean, you know, it was just more of like, this is so bad it's good kind of thing. And this movie shows up on a lot of so bad it's good lists, you know. But yeah, this movie, if you've never seen it before, Anaconda tells the story of an ill-fated documentary crew who are going to make a film about an undiscovered Amazonian tribe and are railroaded, bamboozled into a scheme to capture a giant anaconda, like giant, like bigger than the normal giant anacondas.
Yeah, well, at the beginning, there's this like fact screen about anacondas can do this and that and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, thinking I was joking, is there any fact checking going on? And Dave was like, actually, yeah, that's all made up.
Yeah, like the actual anacondas.
Like, and you were saying, well, other movies like, you know, Jaws, for example, great white sharks don't actually attack people. No. But there isn't a fact screen at the beginning of that movie that says great white sharks will do blah, blah, blah. Like, so this feels like, isn't there a violation of some code here? Seems like
code. What code?
It's straight up misinformation.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Yeah. Do the anacondas have a lobbying group? Because that's what they do. Would get people to listen. But.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of, I mean, you're setting up your movie, right? You want you're setting up the you know, antagonist sort of your movie.
Completely false movie.
Right. So, you know, you have to say, because anacondas are like, you know, after this movie, there was a little bit of or around the time of this movie, there was a little bit of like, you know, anaconda not obsession is not quite the word, but like there were documentaries being made about anacondas, green anacondas, and these, you know, and people were, you know, like you have to pull them out of their hiding places. Like they don't want to interact with people. Yeah. They don't want to attack people. Like
there were a lot of, documentaries.
You know, sort of. But there are, of course, just like with anything, there are stories, I'm sure, all up and down their habitat, the Amazon River and whatnot, that they ate a kid. There's always a story that a big giant snake ate a kid, or that a crocodile lives in the sewer, or whatever, you know, alligator, or whatever. So yeah, like I'm sure that they have an unearned reputation as man eaters or aggressive or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's that sort of thing of like most of the time, if you catch one and it is aggressive, it's because it's protecting its eggs or its territory or whatever, you know. Yeah. And like anacondas apparently do fight each other, and like they do cannibalize, like females will eat males after they mate and stuff. Like, so they're not.
Yes. Noted.
So they're not like docile to the extreme, but they are not, just like all snakes. Okay. They don't want to eat a human. They don't want to interact with a human. Yeah. They would not stalk you in the way that this snake stalks the boat. Mm-hmm. Especially, they would not continue to attack you after they have a meal.
They don't hold grudges.
Right. These are the snakes in this movie act like the sharks in the later Jaws sequels, where they have a vendetta.
There's some kind of like epigenetic revenge story.
Right. Like these snakes will eat a full meal, and you know, if you know anything about snakes, like they're good for a week.
At
like
least.
You know, you feed an anaconda a full-sized Owen Wilson, and it's not going to want to eat again for like a week. But immediately, this anaconda is back at it, and this anaconda will like secure a victim, have, the ability to eat it and abandon that to go and attack someone else. So it's a movie snake.
Yeah.
And that whole thing at the beginning is just to set up, that you can't just say, hey, normally anacondas are nice, but we have special magic ones.
I think I would have liked it if it was like, it's the I don't know, it's the black anaconda, it's the or make up a species or something. But anyway.
Sure, yeah, but also, like, for some people in 1997, this is the first time they're hearing about anacondas.
That's true.
Like, I remember, like, sometime in my late teens or something. This was prior to Kobe Bryant getting this nickname, but I remember hearing about black mambas.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in, like, the 90s, when I was, like, in my teens, or mid to late teens. Like, that's a snake that has existed for my entire life, and I'm just hearing about them. So someone's, the first time I hear about them, they're like, they're more poisonous than a king cobra, and they'll attack. So, it's that kind of thing. Like, some people are hearing about the snake for the first time, so they've got to set it up.
Well, and I think I feel like in the last couple of movies that we've watched, this has come up. In the 90s, we didn't care so much about the facts of things that took place outside of the U.S. Like,
even things that JFK came out in the 90s. Like, we didn't even care about facts of things that happened in the U.S.
Back and to the left. But there was a lot of, it's a foreign country. Who cares? No one will know. It's fine.
This is probably how it is. They deal with this all the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are 2 anacondas.
It seems like a lot. I lost count. There were a lot.
One of them definitely appears to be killed on screen, shot in the head multiple times with what looks to be a small caliber gun, but still a rifle. And then there is another one. I wish they had just done a drop-in line of, like, Ice Cube going, man, this one even bigger than the last one, something like that. You just needed something, that it's a different, the coloration I'm pretty sure is different. Or like you get John Voight, who we'll talk about, but his Cerrone, he just says, oh, that's the mama, or something like that, like, just to give it a bit of context. Like, it's just off screen. We don't need to reshoot the character saying it. Just give me a sound alike dropping that line in. So they are, they start their journey. They pick up a hitchhiker, I guess whatever the
boat ran aground,
Amazon River equivalent of a hitchhiker is. Yeah. His boat is caught up in some vines, and they pick him up, but very quickly you start to get glances between him and their driver, Mateo. And it's, it becomes very obvious that something is going on here, like something more than meets the eye between these two.
One by one, everybody is picked off.
They're picked off until finally Cerrone, who is our snake hunter here, basically just takes over the boat. Yeah. He plants a deadly wasp in the respirator of the expedition leader, Dr. Kale, played by Eric Stoltz, and who spends most of his time on his back
recovering after a tracheotomy in the field
after said wasp. So he plants it into the respirator, and leading to him getting, while he's underwater, clearing out the propeller, which I think also is implied that Cerrone puts the rope into the propeller.
I think he's a bit of a mastermind, and he did everything. He's everywhere all at once. He did all of it.
Oh yeah. He ends up getting stung by this wasp, and they have to do an emergency tracheotomy on him with a pen, with a ballpoint pen, and he ends up surviving, but he's weakened for the whole rest of the movie, which thrusts Jennifer Lopez's Terry into a leadership role, to butt heads with Cerrone, and then Cerrone slowly wins over a couple of the more opportunistic members of the crew, including Owen Wilson, who plays Gary, and somebody I didn't recognize, who plays a character named Westridge, who is like their David Attenborough.
You didn't recognize him?
He's very familiar, but I didn't recognize him.
Oh my gosh, you know who he is? He was Ismay in Titanic.
No.
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
the one who kept saying, set all the boilers. Let's set a speed record. Let's give them something to talk about. Sure, yeah. They'll remember the name Titanic forever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, but I've seen that actor in a ton of stuff, but I don't remember him by name, and I don't remember none of his roles stick out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's like a Sir David Attenborough sort of stand-in. Just here on the Amazon,
right?
Where they need an English guy to narrate a nature documentary.
Yes.
Yeah. So this movie just goes all over the place. It's got all kinds of crazy snake fighting in it, and I don't even know where to start. Just give me your fresh off the. We're 10 minutes off. By the way, we forgot to do the feature where we record the pre thing. I think that's at this point that may just be scrapped. So we didn't do the thoughts beforehand.
Let us know if we should keep doing that, but we've forgotten, or one of us knows absolutely zilch about the movie.
So we did it once, then the next time no one knew about the movie. Now this time we just straight forgot.
Yeah. Well, I would not have predicted any of this.
Oh yeah, no.
So, wow. Yeah. Well, okay. So just to get this out of the way, the social justice portion, it really bugged me that at the end, so they're looking for this lost tribe, the people of the mist or something like that, who no one has ever found, and blah blah, and they're on this alternate route, and they're on the route because it's faster to get to the hospital or something. I
don't think it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, she observes when
he bamboozled them.
Yeah, Cerrone suggests that route when they're at a fork.
Yeah,
and Kale, who this is the reason that Kale gets marked to be taken out.
Right.
Kale is like, no, that's not. It would be flooded over there. He's like, oh, your villagers, they would be over here this way, and he's like, no, the tide is high. It would be flooded over there.
Yeah.
They would have to be the other way.
Okay.
And,
well, anyway.
And so it's never. And then when Kale gets stung, he's like, "Oh, there's a faster way to the hospital," and he points them back in the exact same direction. So his plan was to get him going that way the whole time.
Well, anyway, so they're on this. And the movie's just about to end, and they do find these people of the mist, and someone is like, "Oh, get your camera out, and we can film them now." And I kind of was like. And again, this is 90s points of view on indigenous tribes that don't want to be found versus 2020's view on this. But I was like, just leave them alone. Haven't you learned not to mess with Mother Nature?
But I mean, it's the whole reason they came, right? If they don't get some footage of this, they've got nothing. And the whole journey, 4 people are dead for nothing.
Well, anyway, I just, my lefty spidey sense was like, no, leave them alone. They don't want to be found.
I guess. I mean, although that was the point of the journey from the beginning, so it doesn't feel any more exploitative than it was going to be.
Well, right. Okay. Anyway, whatever. I just had to say that. Moving on. Okay. Oh my! I laughed so hard at the first time the snake attacked. What in the world? Like I didn't time it. It was like 10 minutes. We had to pause.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with this movie. Honestly, I mean, this is the stuff to talk about because it is a so bad it's good kind of movie.
I feel like you say this every time. There's not a lot to talk about, and then we talk for a long time.
Well, right. I mean, there are certain movies where I write down 10 things.
Yes.
And I try to guide a conversation through all of the points that I want to get to. That's a lot to talk about. I'm not saying there's not a lot of talking to do. Okay. I'm saying there's not a lot of individual points to talk about. So there are movies where I have 5 things written on the board, and 4 of them are basically the same, different versions of the same thing. So that's what I mean. When I say that, I mean, there's not a lot of notes here. There's not a lot of particular things that I got to get to. There may be not a lot of things to talk about, but that doesn't mean there can't be a lot of talking.
Fair. Okay. I see the distinction. Anyway, I laughed very hard for like 10 minutes because it was so, I don't even know, over the top. This snake is like a supervillain.
Yeah. Well, so I think, here's the thing. So one of the points I wrote down is this is like a bad Jaws, right?
Yeah.
Which is not totally true. It's it's not a 1-for-1, but essentially it's, and you understand from watching this movie why they don't show much of the shark.
Yeah.
because, of course, the famous story with Jaws is that Bruce the shark was constantly malfunctioning and was a pain in the butt. And Steven Spielberg effectively adapted the movie to show it less.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily some master stroke of genius to hold back the shark and only give you glimpses up towards the finale. That it was a broken piece of crap and that waterlogged all the time and they couldn't show it. And it forced them to do that. This movie, they had CGI.
Were they using CGI? I didn't notice.
Did you not notice? They had an animatronic snake, of course, and you can easily tell when it's the animatronic snake, which is anytime it's a close up of the snake.
Yeah.
And they're trying, but we're in this period in the mid 90s to about 2005, 2010, maybe even, where they're still doing a little bit of both. You got an animatronic thing or a person, and then you're switching in sort of the digital double, as they call them with people. You're switching in the digital version, and the animatronic version of the snake moves like a snake. Like it moves around. It doesn't do a lot of quick movements. It opens its mouth. It blinks its eyes. Mm-hmm. The computer double of the snake just whips around and does crazy fast movements and catches people out of the midair.
It's like a fire hose.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh boy.
And I think that they wanted to do something that would be interesting and show like the what the snake can do. But first of all, anacondas don't do that. Mm-hmm. They don't move that quickly. Like, can they move fast? Sure, but they don't ever do that. And it is so jarring when they go to it, when they have an inset set shot of like the snake turning to look at something, and then the next shot is a wide shot where the snake lunges off of a tree, swoops down in like a hook pattern and catches something out of midair, and then coils it up, and and then they cut back to a tight of the actor in animatronic snake coils
going
So,
these snakes have some muscles.
Oh yeah,
like they're
and I mean they do in real life. Like
I believe it. Yeah,
like a real life anaconda can crush your spine. Like it's no question.
I don't want to find out.
But yeah, like they did their best with the special effects. At this, they're just. You have this problem with a lot of things that had to make this bumpy transition. Video games are one that, if I can speak from experience, having lived through the almost entire life cycle of video games, there was a period where they were all pixels on a screen and then they were 3D, and the very earliest 3D games are so hard to play in the same way that some of the very earliest CGI is so hard to go back to. This is one of those movies. Mm-hmm. I think again, like they did their best. Like the actual special effects that they did with the snake, the CGI special effects are legitimately good for 97. Mm-hmm. Like they're really good. The snake has complex reflections. It's got it doesn't look that far off. From the animatronic snake. Which is a problem that they would continue to struggle with for years, where they'd have like a hero close-up puppet, and then they would cut to the digital, and it would look totally different. The way the skin red would be different. All of that stuff is great. Like, but it also is they're pushing it past the point that it can actually perform at, and it becomes absolutely laughable. That's there have been times where we've watched movies and you have laughed at certain special effects or certain moments in the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's she's not taking it seriously. But this movie, like, that's the intended reaction. That's the correct reaction.
I'm glad that I could deliver.
Yes.
One thing I noticed that I did think was it was a nice touch, although it gave the movie a bit of a tell. When the anaconda is coming up on people and it's doing it from their perspective, the camera tilts a little bit, or a lot actually. So it's at like a 45-degree angle sometimes, which was a nice touch. But then when there's fake outs, like there was a time when it was a wild boar stalking everybody, it's just coming up and it's not tilted. So it was not, there was some tension, but it was not a big surprise when it turns out that it wasn't a snake, it was an anaconda. So
yeah, and they sort of train you to that to the point where it gives away the reveal of a second snake,
right?
Because they're doing that sort of. I think the intent might be for it to be a fake out, like they do the sort of anaconda approach. There's a point in the movie where they've killed the first anaconda, and they stop. Fuel is a concern because their barrels of fuel fall off the boat, and they have one barrel, and they don't know if it's enough to get back. So they stop after the first anaconda has been killed, and they've rid themselves of Cerrone, or so they think.
Yeah.
They stop at this old mill or something, and there is a shot of the camera turning and moving and undulating in a weird way, and coming up on the mill. And then it's revealed that Cerrone is still alive. And I think maybe the intent was, because if you just read it for what it was clearly the same kind of camera action to reveal that there's now going to be a second snake.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that was their thinking. Like, oh, we'll do the snake camera. They'll think we're about to reveal a snake. And when we have a off-screen noise, it won't be a snake. It'll be Cerrone. I gotcha.
See, he's slippery like a snake. He's tricky like a snake. See what we did there?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you're right. Like there's good filmmaking spread throughout this movie. The director, Luis Llosa,
Llosa, two L's.
Oh,
Llosa.
Right. He didn't do a whole lot more in America. He had made a couple of movies leading up to this. I think he made a Sylvester Stallone movie. I think it might be Stallone and Sharon Stone. I think The Specialist, I think, is the movie. Okay. But yeah, just kind of the rest of his IMDb he's South American, from Peru. So the rest of his IMDb is clearly, he's back in his home country or back somewhere in Latin America making movies, because he doesn't do much after this in terms of major American movies. This might have been his last chance.
Okay, well then I have a question about that. If he's South American, one presumes that a director has some control over the casting.
Yes.
Why, for the love of representation, did he choose Jon Voight to play someone from Paraguay?
Yes, yeah.
Unless that's completely a lie and it wasn't telegraphed well enough.
I mean, I don't know where he's from, but he never, like, there could have been a point, if you really wanted to do that, where he stops the accent.
Yeah.
And then but clearly that's his accent.
He commits to it. Like he did not, as we say sometimes, go to the Kevin Costner school of acting.
Right. No.
I don't think I can even imitate it.
Yeah, but it's a good question. And like I said, the director didn't do much. There's not, sometimes I'll linger on a director. There's nothing else to talk about the director. So yeah, might as well go on to Jon Voight at this point.
I should say, I'm saying it's a good accent. I don't know what a Paraguayan accent sounds like.
I don't know
it's consistent with whatever it is.
I don't know if it's a good accent, but it's consistent.
Which is not saying nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a big deal in a lot of Hollywood movies.
Yes.
I mean, coming off of Congo,
right,
where Ernie Hudson did not. He was much closer to a Costner, the Costner school of accent acting. So he's committed to it the whole time, as the actor Jon Voight is committed to it the whole time, and it's I wouldn't say it's convincing. But yes, it's a full-on accent performance.
Well, and his whole performance actually is, I mean, he's slimy and gross from the get-go, and he has this way of looking at people that's like kind of a squint. So it's kind of leering. It's kind of menacing. Well, leering is sort of menacing anyway. It's a lot.
Yes. So imagine, if you haven't seen this movie, to get the face that he makes for most of this movie. Imagine when someone is about to do a Robert De Niro impersonation and they squint their eyes and they kind of do a little frown. That he looks like that the whole movie,
the whole time.
And he'll do weird side. I'm doing it now to her. Yeah. He'll do weird side eyes and stuff. And it's just, he's hamming it up.
He's a lot.
Totally. It's a very un-Jon Voight thing.
Well, yeah. So I don't know a whole lot about his body of work. The thing that I've seen him in the most are the National Treasure movies.
Yes.
Where he's kind of like a mild-mannered, bumbling professor type. Yeah. And I know there's lots of something, him and Angelina Jolie, and so like he himself is possibly not a good person.
Oh, garbage. Yeah.
But garbage that's person. Right. And I'm just remembering all his political stuff.
Conservative, the worst sort.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with being conservative. He is the bad sort of conservative.
The difficult kind.
Yes, the difficult kind of conservative.
But anyway, so I know, but my main impression of him is Nicolas Cage's dad in National Treasure. This is completely the opposite.
Oh yeah,
of that. So
also famous. The other
Deliverance.
Deliverance is the other thing that might come to people's mind. He's been in a ton of movies. Like like totally committing to it, and just he's doing this weird like Robert De Niro face while sort of doing Al Pacino's Scarface kind of, like there's a lot of head movement, and it's a bizarre performance.
And I don't even know how to describe the accent. It's
it's just, and I don't know if it is accurate at all.
I'm assuming it's not.
Oh no. Well, but I mean, Mateo is presumably from the same part of the world and has a very similar accent when he speaks, though we don't get to hear him or see him speak that much.
Not very much, no.
Also, Danny Trejo is in this movie for a minute.
Yeah.
He's kind of like in the same way that Bruce Campbell was in Congo. He's just there at the beginning, and you never see him again, unlike Bruce Campbell. Well, you see Bruce Campbell's corpse at the end. I guess you kind of see Danny Trejo's. You don't see his dead body, but because he was eaten by the anaconda. But I mean, this movie is it's silly. It's all over the place. It's the kind of thing where you needed an actor, I think, to commit to that. And for as borderline hammy as Voight's performance is, like J-Lo is just committing to it, and does a pretty good job.
I feel like this was in the era when she was trying to be a dramatic actress. She hadn't gone into her rom-com phase. This was around the time of Out of Sight.
Yeah. And she was coming off Selena.
And she hadn't done enough yet, but it was in that she was trying to be tough. And
it was either pre or just around the time she started into the music career. I don't remember exactly how the timing lines up with that. I feel like it was I feel like it was right around the same time.
Yeah, she wasn't glam J-Lo.
Yeah, no, she wasn't Jenny from the Block yet.
No.
None of that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's not a lot of points on this. Hang on, cat removal. You got to flex. There you go. Okay, sorry, she was caught in my microphone stand. Cats are famously known for being like, fitting into a wine glass, and she would not flex her spine at all.
Want to? Yeah.
Yes.
Flexing her muscles.
Yeah. I meant wine glass. I meant a brandy snifter. Yeah. Although cats are not famous for fitting in a brandy snifter, but like I wanted to correct that in my head. I was envisioning a brandy snifter and I said a wine glass. What I mean is a glass with a narrow entrance but a bulbous reservoir.
I think, as the memes tell us, cats are liquid.
Liquid, yes,
because they can fit into any shape. Back to the Cerrone character for a second. Did you catch that he had studied for the priesthood, and then after after Owen Wilson's character dies, which is basically his fault.
Yeah.
He's doing all this, Padre Spiritu Santo, and like saying prayers over the what. Yeah. That was a nice touch. I mean, and made him more creepy.
But also, like the nicest touch of that is that he does it, and then at the end of it, he rolls his eyes and then just like chucks. He has this little branch that he's pulling flowers off of, and he does the whole thing. Then he rolls his eyes and just sort of like tosses the flowers in.
So not genuine.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. No. Like it's almost like he's making a show of it, but like by that point he didn't need to make a show of it anymore.
Speaking of rolling his eyes, do you want to talk about your other favorite part?
Oh yeah, speaking of eyes. Yeah. So my favorite part of this movie is at the end. So we're down to just Terry and Danny played by Ice Cube. And they are looking for the fuel. This is the same place, he ambushes them. We were talking about earlier. He ambushes them. He has them tied up. He's effectively using them as bait. They don't know that. And he is trying to capture the second anaconda. And everything goes awry. And he ends up getting attacked and eaten whole by this anaconda. And the anaconda, like I said, against its actual instincts, continues to pursue Terry, J-Lo. And a thing that you were saying, like, don't snakes need to rest after they eat?
Right.
And I wanted to say, because this is something even I knew at the time, because I watched a ton of Discovery Channel. I knew at the time this movie came out, when it was new, that snakes will do this.
And they said it in the fact card at the beginning. That was actually something that was true. They will do what you're about to say.
Yeah. That they will regurgitate their meal if they need to fight or flight or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after having eaten Cerrone, it's coming after Terry, and it throws him up out like through a window, and he lands on his knees in front of her, and then he's covered in snake goop.
Yeah.
Being digested, and gives her a wink. And it's great.
Oh, like a final act of creepiness that was just, ugh.
Yeah. But I mean, this movie it's fun to watch. I think you should absolutely give it a go, especially if you're just in for just some campy, dumb, like I said, this little section that I'm doing here, probably through the summer, middle of the summer, with one theme month notwithstanding, this little section is just dumb, over the top action movies. And sometimes a movie doesn't have to be great for you to quote unquote love it, Yeah. And this is one of those movies. And the next movie that I'm going to pick, which you'll have to keep you in suspense for a little while on that one, is also just a movie that's dumb and fun and that I just enjoy. Because these movies don't have to be, and we've had other movies that would have fit into this category great, like Commando and stuff like that. The cat has discovered the door stopper. But this is just a great example of that sort of movie that it doesn't have to be great for it to be loved, to have a place. And it is in that so bad it's good. It's difficult to capture because so much of this is watching it in the moment, and you're going back trying to talk about that funny thing or this stupid thing. I think like we mentioned, Owen Wilson is in this movie. Wow. We should give a little bit of a moment to the rest of the characters here. Like we said, there's the Attenborough stand in Westridge. There's Denise, who is an assistant to Owen Wilson's Gary.
Something.
She's something else on the movie.
And I recognized the actress's name. I think she did a lot of stuff in the 90s. She kind of Melrose Place adjacent is how I remember her.
Carrie Wurr.
Something like that, yeah.
She is huge in video game and cartoon voice acting.
Oh,
just
okay.
like that. Basically, her career from here. Yeah, she was in a lot of stuff in the 90s, and her career from that point, sort of from here, from her next couple movies, maybe in the 90s, she went into voice acting, and she has credits, longer than my arm on IMDb of just this character in this video game, this character in this video game, this character in this anime, this character in this animated show, this movie. So yeah, she's, I know her from that. I actually watching her in this, I was like, oh right, she did have a brief actual movie career. And she's she's sort of after this stayed at that level of sci-fi movie and in sort of B grade, sort of movie. She never quite hit, she's got a good look, but yeah, it never seemed to happen for her.
Right here, she looks extremely 90s. She's got that little bit of a mushroom haircut with the stuff in the back that peeks out on the side, and very cute. I would have loved that haircut. I would love it now, but it is extremely 90s.
Yes, yeah, and like we said, Ice Cube plays Danny.
Didn't he get nominated for an Oscar for this?
Oh yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, I bless him. Acting
is
not.
But he is perfect in this role.
Yeah.
Like whether or not he is a good actor, like he plays himself in every movie.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's a good actor, he is perfectly cast in this movie, and just to be that, like, he is the living embodiment of the trope of the black character that just says, "Oh hell no," or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like perfect embodiment of it.
One thing that I did appreciate about his character, and who knows, is it who do I give credit to? Is it him or to J-Lo or to the writing or whatever? I really felt like they had known each other for a long time and they had each other's backs and had a good relationship. Whereas some of the other characters, like Owen Wilson and Carrie, what's her face, turns out they've been a couple for a while, and I was like, I couldn't tell
like,
at all.
It's very like, it's implied to me in the beginning that they're already together. It seems like, the film, you got the film crew, which is J-Lo, Ice Cube, Kari, and Owen Wilson. And no, Eric Stoltz is the professor that's bringing the film crew along.
Well, but he's got some kind of relationship with J-Lo too.
Yeah, they're former lovers or are lovers. Like it's the it's supposed to be your big break, but like, is it really? Because like obviously they have a prior relationship too. But yeah, I think that's the way I read it. Is there's the film crew, which is everybody but Eric Stoltz and Mateo, and then there's Stoltz and Westridge, who are, presumably he's bringing Westridge along to do the, somebody recruited him to be the voice man for the documentary. But anyway, like it's sort of two-ish, three-ish groups of people kind of coming together, but there are these relationships. And Danny and Terry, Ice Cube and J-Lo definitely they feel like they are friends. They like sort of do a bit of nonverbal communication a couple different times. Yeah. Which is like, it's obvious stuff that they're doing, but it's the sort of thing that you would like do with someone, so and
they've got a good rapport. There's never any sexual tension, which I like, although I guess the movie's already decided she's going to be with Eric Stoltz, so no need for with anybody else. But I just, it's nice to see, male and female characters having a good working relationship, because you often don't get that. So that was nice.
Yeah. And, J-Lo is, if we're just going to, you were social justicing earlier or whatever, but, J-Lo is extremely capable. She never needs anybody to save her, although there is a point in the movie where Danny technically rescues her. Yeah. But it's only because, she's being attacked. Like, it's not like she's being, whatever you call it.
She's not damsel in distress.
She's not being damseled or whatever.
Or like, she is in distress, but it's like serious distress.
Right. She's, Yeah, and so I think Ice Cube is perfectly cast in this movie, like, because that's like, it's like they were trying to cast this movie and they were like, like an Ice Cube type, it's like that kind of guy. Like,
let's see,
And there's a good reference in there of he says it's going to be a good day, or today was a good day, to reference the song. Apparently, also the song that he was listening to, there's a conflict between Westridge and Danny, where Westridge obviously wants to be playing like Bach or something. Yeah. He doesn't say that, but like, this is not his idea of music as Danny is listening to a rap song. Apparently that's a Mac 10 song that Ice Cube co-wrote.
Ah, okay.
And maybe even does a verse on, because I thought for a second, like, that kind of sounds like Ice Cube. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
That's nice. Yeah.
And there's some other fun trivia about this movie, like some members of the cast, it doesn't say, this is just unverified IMDb trivia. Some members of the cast apparently were actually afraid of snakes.
I mean, I would be, if I wasn't before, I would be after. Jeez.
Yeah, and this is my favorite one because it makes sense to me as someone who has done amateur computer animation, and even was doing some of that in the late 90s, and sort of never professionally, but this makes sense to me when I think about it. And I'm going to wait until you stop drinking, because I don't want you to spit water in case this makes you laugh. Probably bad time to take a giant swig of water.
Okay. I got 80 ounces for the day.
No. Yeah. The CGI for the Anaconda cost $100,000 per second.
What?
So again, I
don't have any perspective for how expensive that is or isn't, but that is by my normal person standards, that's a lot of money. Jeez.
And you figure like each individual scene the Anaconda is in, there's at least a good 10, 15, 20 seconds of CGI in those scenes. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Very, but also that makes perfect sense. You know, I remember in the late 90s, they were making an animated movie. And it's not important what it is. But they were making an animated movie, and it took 24 hours to render a second of the movie on a render farm. Like it took them 24 hours to render 1 second. So I can just extrapolate that out. Like $100,000 is probably,
Sorry, I just looked something up. There's a point when there's a wild hog that's been stalking them, and they kill it, and then they're like, okay, that's dinner. And Ice Cube seems to be like, oh, really? We're going to... And I thought, wait a minute, isn't the line about Mama cooked a breakfast with no hog, and that was bad? That is actually from A Good Day. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if that was on purpose, but...
Nice. Yeah. And that's, another good reference.
Yeah.
But, there's other stuff like Gillian Anderson was up for the J-Lo role.
Oh.
That would have been a whole different movie.
Yeah. I can see that though.
Stuff like that. Yeah. Like, and then there's always these are always funny when they give these lists, because it's like, yeah, of course, you considered these people.
Right.
Like, what does this even mean?
Yeah.
On the short list of people who were considered for Cerrone, the John Voight role, Michael Douglas, Harrison Ford, Mel Gibson, Liam Neeson, Jack Nicholson.
Liam Neeson at that time?
Yeah.
Really? He wasn't doing his action stuff.
He was coming off Darkman in the early to mid 90s. That was kind of one of his, but still.
Yeah.
Also, like, considered, what does that mean?
Yeah, sure.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Yes.
What?
Which would have been an interesting, like, throwback for him to
a bit, to kind
Apocalypse
of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to say, of those, I would have chosen Michael Douglas, but...
Probably, yeah. Mel Gibson would have given a good unhinged performance.
That's true, yeah.
And then there are statements like these, which are, here's a list of people that turned down the role.
Yeah.
Sean Connery, Tommy Lee Jones, John Malkovich.
Oh, see, Malkovich. Oh, although Malkovich he's done a lot of villains.
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen him. I don't know what I've seen him in where he wasn't a villain. So maybe he was like, it's a little much.
It could be, and especially at that time. Yeah. And you see, like, amongst the considered roles for the Terry Flores, for the J-Lo role, Jennifer Aniston, Kate Beckinsale.
Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
What?
Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock. Like, what does
I
that
could see Sandra Bullock. I could not see Jennifer Aniston.
But, like, what does that even mean,
Yeah.
Like, it's great. It's great to... It's great to see, and like it's great to it's great fun to think about, like, oh yeah, imagine if that movie, but like, what does that even mean?
I imagine that's like bankable actresses between these ages.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Tim Curry was considered for Westridge, which also F. Murray Abraham considered for Westridge, which would have been good.
Wow.
Well, F. Murray Abraham was kind of on a high at that point, late 90s. A couple years later, he would be in 13 Ghosts, I think. Like he was kind of, and then Monk shortly after that.
I'm always surprised that he is still around. I guess they made him up for Amadeus to look much older than he was. And he may be one of those people where he just looked old from a young age and then hasn't changed too much. I keep hearing, because he was in The White Lotus, right? Yeah. And I'm like, he's still alive? What?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, because they do. I mean, they make him look super old in Amadeus.
Yeah.
And then, like, again, just, this is often what we end up with when we don't have a lot of talking points about a movie. Let's just read some IMDb stuff and react to it. This one would have changed the movie significantly. The role of Danny, played by Ice Cube, was offered to Chris Farley. Like, how would that have even worked? I mean, clearly a different character.
I'm imagining a Matt Foley tie-in.
Yeah, like,
I live in my van down by the river and I catch snakes.
Yeah, or just...
I'm going to try not to have another fit.
Yeah, I'm envisioning it like his character from Billy Madison. Yeah. Her and that anaconda got it on. That kind of thing. Like, just... How do you even... I mean, it's a totally different character.
Oh, my gosh.
Apparently, the shooting schedule conflicted with Beverly Hills Ninja, so it could not happen.
Was there a screen test for this? Please tell me it exists.
I would love it, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And then this is one of my favorite things. This is almost like there's a through line in this movie, or in this podcast, of inhuman characters and or like non-human characters, being voiced by voice actor Frank Welker.
Okay.
Who is one of my favorite voice actors of all time. He voiced the Anaconda in this movie.
As in, he made that
sound. Yes, like he made the sound. Like, that's the thing. Like, Frank Welker can do these crazy things with his voice. I'm trying to remember. There's at least 2 other movies that we've watched where he's been like the voice of the creature and or animal, but I can't. Nothing is coming to mind. But I know it's happened multiple times. God, and I just said it's like a through line on this podcast, and I can't even remember. But yeah, like, he does these amazing things with his voice. He's one of the first voice actors. I've watched him in interviews and stuff, and there's plenty of voice actors like this now. But he was one of the first voice actors that was like, I play an instrument.
Yeah,
I'm not saying lines. Like, my voice is an instrument. Like, he voiced, I believe he voiced Gizmo. Oh no, I think that was Howie Mandel, actually. But anyway, the point is, he voices a lot of non-human characters, and he did the snake voice. So it's like, just seeing that, like, oh, yep, makes sense. He's like, he's going to be like the dog in something, or like he's always there. He did. There's nothing you would know that he did, but if anyone is out there. He did the voice of Megatron on Transformers. He did the voice of Slimer on Ghostbusters. In the movie, I believe in the movie and in the cartoon.
Okay.
He also did, I think, one of the characters in the he did Ray in the cartoon as well. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, Frank Welker. So it was like, I saw that and I was like, yep, you needed someone to make a guttural animal noise. There you go. Frank Welker will do it every time.
Okay.
Yeah. Not seeing anything else that's jumping out at me, but I did not prepare for this. I was just like looking at the thing and like, oh, we've only been at this like 20 minutes. I better talk about something else. Yeah. So Anaconda. Any parting thoughts on Anaconda?
Often there are movies where I see them and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I've done that. But this one, it would be really great to see it in the theater, because not so much like you want to see that on the big screen, but the audience reaction to a lot of the stuff, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah. And I feel like there's got to be, like, we used to live in a town that had sort of like a small theater that showed cult movies and that sort of stuff. Like, there's got to be a market for that. Like, we're hey, it's So Bad It's Good Wednesdays or whatever. To just go to a theater and sit with like 50 or 100 people and watch a movie that is where everyone's going to laugh at stuff that is not supposed to be laughed at, but like is the reason that you love this movie.
Yes.
And this is really like that.
And you can have a 10-minute laughing fit when somebody dies, and no one's going to get mad at you for spoiling their good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, make that happen. Somebody.
Somebody. I'm sure it's happening somewhere. Tell us where it happens in your town.
Well, yeah. And speaking of, folks, if you would like to get in touch with us to tell us if that happens in your town, we would love it if you did that. You can get in touch with us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email, or you can reach us on Twitter or Facebook. Our handle is the same for all three. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. You can send us an email at gmail.com, or again, through Twitter or Facebook. Also on Twitter and Facebook, if you check our feeds, we post links to our new episodes when they're published. We have one every 2 weeks, every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode up. If you are not a Facebook or Twitter person, that's fine too. We got you. We are available on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts. And while you're there, we would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe. If you subscribe, then you get the latest episodes right in your queue. And if you rate and review, you'll help other people learn about the podcast, which is always great. And let's see, new episodes every 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I'm hosting, and I am going to have Dave watch a movie that is completely different in topic, in tone, in absolutely everything. Although it does star Martin Sheen, who could have been in this movie if things had been different. We're going to watch Entertaining Angels, which is a biopic of Dorothy Day, of the Catholic worker movement. And if you don't know who that is, well, you're in company with my husband, I think. I think he only knows about her because of me.
I know of her.
Yeah. Well, now in 2 weeks, you will know more. So,
lovely.
So tune in 2 weeks for Entertaining Angels. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.